Hello, good morning, good evening, and have a good day. Today, from IET Smart Cities Working Group, I have my friend and esteemed speaker, well respected in the space of smart cities, digitalization, and digital governance areas, Ravinder All Singh. He worked in a very senior positions at Dell, Cisco, instrumental in digitalizing so many cities initiatives. Currently, he is the founder and chief executive officer for Mercado RHA Technologies Private Limited. He has more than 25 years of experience, got so many awards, um, recognized as the 50 Global Smart Cities Impactful Leaders 2016, 2017, 2018, and he also got recognized as a Digital Thought Leader of the Year 2017 and Digital Infra Leader of the Decade 2017. So, Ravinder, I'm very happy to have you here. And we discussed, I think, a few weeks back to extract your experience and knowledge in the space of urban planning, city planning, architecture, how the digitalization will play a role. Thanks so much for joining us, Ravinder.
Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah. So, Ravinder, I think I'm sure you have been in this space more than a decade, especially when the digitalization started. So, today my topic is urbanization. I think a lot of migration happening. So, what are the challenges you think you observed due to urbanization, and how effective the city planning or the urban planning is today? Can you please share your thoughts on that?
Sure. So I would like to give two different perspectives here. One is a perspective which is more focused on developing countries like India, and one is more on developed countries. So when we definitely, since we are in India, so let's talk more on developing countries. If we go back 5,000 years, surprisingly, the earlier civilizations what we had, including Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, what we found, and recently it was uncovered that those civilizations, those cities, actually had a much better planning. There was no digitization at that time, of course, but the basic foundation, what lays the foundation of a city, which is like the sewage, the roads, the pathways, they were all done nicely with planning. Now, where we got a bit wrong in last 100 years, I should say, is the growth in population was not able to keep pace with infrastructure development of developing countries. It's not that our base infrastructure in cities today, what we have in big cities, especially cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, uh, we do have some great infrastructure foundations there. Like if you look at the New Delhi area, the Lutyens New Delhi as we call it, that's a beautiful place. But the moment you go away from Lutyens Delhi and go to other parts of New Delhi, then you realize that somewhere we have gone wrong. And why we have gone wrong is because number one, we could not keep pace with the population growth. And I remember one very interesting thing I should share here. I came to Bangalore for my engineering studies in 1992 when I joined engineering college
Okay.
here. And that time, Bangalore population was close to around 25, 26 lakhs. And we were told that Bangalore is a retiree's paradise. And Bangalore city has been made in a way that it will be good enough till we have 4 million population. That time it was 2.6 million population. And we always felt, oh, great, means Bangalore can cope up with growth for next maybe 20, 30 years. But what happened, and nobody realized, that within 7, 8 years, the IT growth happened so fast that the population of Bangalore doubled. And the Bangalore city, which was supposed to be taking care of 4 million people, is today taking care of more than 9 million people. And this happens in most of the cities. And that is where I think the whole process got a bit. I'm not saying that it was deliberate, but it was something which nobody could have forecast. So today, when we talk of urbanization, I think the basic challenge we all face in all our developing cities is we are not able to keep pace with the population and with growth. And I think
So
somewhere,
I will ask one question here. Sorry to interrupt, Ravinder. That means, do you think we don't have the necessary systems and capabilities to predict how the future will be in each of the cities today? If you say that we have 130 crore and probably 40% population is in urban and tomorrow 60% whatever. So if the prediction is wrong, certainly I think we'll have a great challenge, right? So do you think there are deficiencies in the capabilities or systems to predict?
well, it won't be right to doubt the capability, but I should say this, that maybe we don't want to. Our planners never wanted to go beyond a certain period. And one example again, I like quoting real time example. So look at Bangalore again. Sorry, because I have been living in Bangalore for a long time. So when they
Right,
built
yeah,
the airport, which is around 48 kilometers from city, it took
right,
7 to 8 years to complete the airport. Right, that time was more than enough for government and for authorities to create a metro line from city to airport, but they never thought about that. Right.
mm,
After the airport became operational and it started getting too much traffic, and road traffic to that airport from city became a big problem, then and even today, they're still thinking, shall we have a metro? Shall we have a monorail? Shall we have this or that? Believe me, this could have done parallelly with setting up of the new airport. And this is the problem in every city today. We do a lot of planning, but our I think our planning sightedness is only till next 5 years, 7 years, which should not be the case. Infrastructure planning and urbanization should be at least 20, 25, 30 years. And it has to take factors like population growth, migration, and now in this new era, we have to take care of, we have to also take into consideration in future, if there's a pandemic, what will happen? See, today we are having this problem. So the whole urbanization planning, I won't say the capability is not there. But rather I would say that maybe the willpower to do that was not that strong, and I still don't see that happening in planning, and that's how our whole smart city
right.
mission is having a problem right
So that means it is very clear that there is a scope for improvement
now.
in
Absolutely.
the traditional way of doing the city planning or town planning. I think a lot of changes required in terms of looking forward maybe 100 years or 50
Yeah.
years, not just limiting to and a well planned. I think we used to say the well planned city in India was Chandigarh, probably in
Yeah.
the past. Maybe it is even today, it is true. All right, now I think we are talking about now fourth industrial revolution, digital technologies like mobile, social, analytics, cloud, IoTs, artificial intelligence, machine learning, mixed reality, blockchain, so on and so forth. So, what do you think at that time, probably 50 years back or 100 years back, all these technologies were not there? Okay, but you said Harappa and all other cities what are designed in the past, they planned well. Okay, keeping that aside, which was the past, but now considering all these technologies. So let us
Mhm.
take Bangalore city, which you actually talking about. If I, as a city administrator, request you, hey, this is a brownfield city. Already the city is established for many decades. How I can digitalize my city systems, whether it is in a something like a water management system, energy management system, transportation system, traffic system. There may be 15, 20 systems within a city, right? And they're all planned. Probably the plan was evolved. It's not like something they visualized for next 50 years and all. It is like evolved, incremental. If I want to you, I give a challenge to you like, hey, how we want to digitalize this? How we want to make this as a smart city? The plan was old, it was traditional. Now you want to digitalize that plan and then apply that digitalization plan to a reality with these technologies. Can you please share some thoughts there?
Yeah, in fact, that's exactly what is happening today. The whole gamut of these digital solutions, which has come, especially in smart city space. The whole idea is keeping the base smart city foundations like roads, base infrastructure, sewage system, uh, water management, electricity management, the base traffic systems intact, to build a digital layer on top of that. But then again, uh, the problem what we have seen, and that's where we encountered this during this India Smart City mission, where I was very closely involved with. Uh, if we if we look at this, you have a city which has the base, it's a brownfield city. If the base infrastructure of city, the foundation infrastructure of city is up to a certain mark, it's very easy and productive to put a digital layer and make it even better or smarter, as we call it. But what has happened is in many cities, apart from few, many cities, the base foundation itself is in a problem. And even if
Mm-hmm.
you want a digital layer on top of that, it won't give you that 100% efficiency because your foundation is missing. And let me take two examples to show you how this differs. One example, I'll take a city where I worked very closely with during the consulting stage. I was one of the consultants during Smart City India mission when the planning was done. Uh, Bhubaneswar is a beautiful city. The core foundation of Bhubaneswar, which includes the roads, wide roads, the sewage system, at least in the city area, has been at a very up to the mark, I should say. If not 100%, but at
Mm-hmm.
least 90% up to the mark. So when
Okay.
we designed smart city framework for that, it was very easy to do it because you have a for example you have a sewage system. Now you want to put an IoT so that you can track the entire sewage process. It's easy. Now I compare that to another city, Jabalpur, where I was involved in a project of solid waste management tracking. When we were planning to deploy the solid waste management tracking, we found there are no bins in the city
Mm.
where people can come and put their solid waste. Now, if you don't have the bin, you don't have that place, where are you going to put your IoT sensors? You don't, right? So the first,
Right.
the first problem is you need to have the foundation done. Unfortunately, most of our cities, except for Bhubaneswar, cities like Indore, I've been involved with these cities very closely. Bhubaneswar, Indore, Jaipur, Chandigarh, as you rightly mentioned, and to some extent New Delhi area, to some extent even Hyderabad and Bangalore also, but limited to a certain area. I won't see that entire city. You have the
Right.
right foundation, but in most of the other cities, when we're talking of 100, smart cities, the foundation itself is a problem. Look at Mumbai today.
When you say foundation, that means the physical infrastructure and the
Physical
existing
core.
systems,
Yes.
as water, for example, the piping, the distribution system, energy
Absolutely.
distribution system, the existing roads, all those things, if they are not up to the mark, then talking about digitalization might be a very challenging. It's not like just simply toggling and making digital.
No, we did. In some cities, they tried to do it because there was a mandate to do it, but it didn't last long.
Mm.
It didn't last.
Okay. Okay, okay. But what we do, because a lot of cities in India, 100 cities, maybe tomorrow some other cities might come under, I think, Amrut initiative also there. But what we do then in that situation, especially these brownfield cities, when the physical infrastructure is not there, but still, I mean, required. It's not. It is there, but it is not up to the mark. Then how I
Yeah.
can digitalize and make it smart? What do you think? What we need to do as a process?
I think this has to go hand in hand, both the physical core infrastructure and digital infrastructure. Of course, for future,
Okay.
whatever they are, see today, even brownfield cities, every now and then we come up with new roads, new piping. Even on the existing roads. What we have been telling city managers and city planners is, when you are doing all this, make sure the digital and physical go hand in hand. Okay, so you cannot say that today I am planning a new road and I'm laying pipe.
Hmm.
Once I'm done, then I call the digital guy and say, now you lay the sensor network, because that's again a process.
Right.
So I think two things. One, for any new development in existing cities, whether it's a road or new piping or new electricity distribution, it has to go hand in hand with digital layer. You cannot proceed or succeed anyone. Second, for places where your base infrastructure itself is crumbling, I think the first thing you need to do is bring it to a mark. Bring it to a mark, and there are enough. It's not that it's not happening. Even the Amrut basically program, or there are so many like Jawaharlal Nehru urban, there was the renewal mission. All these programs were there to uplift the core base physical infrastructure and then bring the digital layer. I think in future, whatever any city is doing today, it has to take digital along with it, hand in hand, and we cannot afford to have a gap there.
So that means I think that's an excellent point. In fact, I think you really brought out a very game-changing thought process. It's not like I just put physical infrastructure. After that, I'll invite some companies like yours or Cisco or Hitachi or such. Like, okay, now you digital. No, I think you need to have a plan of digitalizing the new road or digitalizing the new water management system. But the most important challenge I see there is, Ravinder, how the city administration is geared up, because they're all traditional. Most of the times, they're all great planners. They are trained on the urban planning. They have been working for many decades and all. But unfortunately, they may not know how to integrate the digital layer in the town planning in the beginning itself before they start any new initiative. So, what is that change you expect in their processes and capabilities? How to prepare the city planners and city administration team for this new digital first with physical go together?
Yeah, I think this is where private-public partnership comes in very handy. So we do understand this challenge that the teams which are working, which have been there in cities for long, they may not all of them, but some new guys, the new wave of even senior officers who have joined, and I know a lot of them who have been managing these smart city projects, IS officers. They come with all that technical bent of mind, but more or less the guys who have been there, they may not have that capability. You are right, and that is where you have enough digital providers in this country, especially India. I should tell you, Srinivas, India is a country where what I have seen in last 7 8 years, especially, is the number of startups and number of companies which are coming out with these beautiful innovative ideas. Today, you talk of any technology in a city, you talk of drone, you find 100 drone providers in different streams and different domains around you. So which means we have
Right.
availability, we have capability. The only thing which was missing earlier was marrying these two. So when government wants to do something, they need to take along the private players. Earlier the problem was these innovative solutions, many of them come from smart startups, and these startups were not able to go and get into these government projects because of other eligibility criteria or whatever. Of late, I have seen, in some respects, this is becoming a bit easier for startups, so that even government bids, especially last few weeks, we have seen Atmanirbhar, Bharat Atmanirbhar, where government is also seeing that we should have local people and local companies contribute. And last week, just 2 days back, they announced a big embargo on defense import as well. This is going to help a lot of Indian companies who were not earlier able to get into these big projects. And I think that is where we need to work together. The PPP model, which we have been talking about, the
Okay.
private-public partnership model, is this is the time. And most of the smart cities actually did that. They appointed consultants, they appointed the system integrators, they appointed solution providers who come with those solutions. So we don't have to really build this in city teams, but we can bring a lot of these capabilities on table, and that's what companies like us are doing today.
Right. Okay. So, considering all these things, do you believe it is the time for government of India and state governments? They have a lot of, I think, academies, and they invest a lot of money on reskilling their officers.
Yeah.
But do you think is it necessary to have a smart city academy or a smart city planning and execution academy? Why I'm saying is this is something new. The bureaucrats and the city administrators, they have to work with the startups or other private organizations and all, but the government side itself, I think they need to change the processes, and they need to change the policies, and they need to look at how the interdepartmental functions work together. When you become a digital, the boundaries are erased, and the citizens, it is a single point or a single window. But at that
Yes.
time, again, it should not be like this is that department, this department, and all, right? So there is a sea change required in the processes, in the policies, and also the existing software applications may not work. You might need to digitalize. It means you need to add the wrappers of artificial intelligence, machine learning, whatever different layers are there. So, do you see something like a smart city, a learning academy, or a smart city academy is required, where the government officers and city administration teams will be trained. They may not be experts in technology, but at least they should understand the impact of that. They should start devising new policies, new processes, new systems, etc. So, what is your view on that? How this ecosystem can be built?
Yeah, so I think this has already started. Remember last year, maybe 1.5 years back, I met a college management from Mumbai who started the first master's program in smart city infrastructure management in India. And then I saw that a couple of other universities have already started doing that. So today you have courses where people, but they are more focused on students. You are right, not on the government officials or existing. So the lateral, what you're saying is the lateral skill building. I think that is required, and we can. I think private companies need to play a bigger role because they have the capabilities, and then go and tie up with something like NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. So today NSDC is busy
Correct.
focused more on building the skill of their people of this country in terms of making them more a bit computer savvy, we should call it, or IT savvy, so they can run their businesses or run their work. But I think this makes a lot of sense, and this can be a good idea if we have a kind of an institute which can work very closely with bodies like NSDC or Niti Aayog, for example, and build the
Right.
capability of smart city operators, managers, municipal corporation guys. That should definitely help. Number one. Number two, on the skill building side, in the private space, as I mentioned, this has already started with some universities, some institute offering smart city courses or IoT courses and all these things. The third and most important thing is, as I mentioned in earlier, is uh, to uplift this. I think two things which has happened in the government space, which might help, which should help. One is 2 years back, the government opened to lateral hiring of officials from private sector. This is a
Right.
game because today you have private companies with a lot of capabilities, and then government has to hire them, and there are processes involved. Rather than that, you have people from private going and sitting in government. That makes a difference. I've seen some of them, and they are really creating it. Number one. Number two, this Atam Nirbhar and all these be local, be vocal about local. These kind of programs should help local innovators to come up and provide these solutions. So this whole ecosystem definitely has started developing, but a lot more has to be done in this case.
Right. So I think maybe you can validate my assumption. If city I consider as a cluster, I don't see much difference, except it is like for the citizen services, it is for adding social capital, social value. But it has to be driven like a business because the city has to become a self-sustainable today. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
revenue streams. So I feel, I think each city has to not only what I talk about academy to build the skills to devise new policies, new processes, new systems where the city administration knows that, and they also need to acquire new skills for designing business models, how to invite the investors, how to create new revenue streams, how to provide better experience to citizens. I think most of the private organizations have been doing a tremendous job. So what do you
Right.
see now? I mean, is there any direction in that line where the cities basically also looking at, rather just looking at, I will bring IoT, I will bring surveillance cameras for this city surveillance, or I'll bring something like this. So see, maybe you can correct me, the disintegrated RFPs, okay, this is for complete water management system RFP. This is for complete energy management system RFP. This is for surveillance cameras. Again, this is a department-wise focused. I think it should not be like that, is my view. The city administration and each departments have to sit together. They need to come up with the city strategy, the planning, and the execution model, new policies, interdependencies. I mean, where we are on that? Are we still there? Are we? Is there anything, something the government is planning on that? Unless we do that, these are all become very siloed initiatives, and you will not get the real benefit of that city modernization or digitalization.
See, if you look at the whole framework of India Smart City missions, which started in 2014, actually this was taken care when they said we will create SPVs for each smart city, which will do everything rather than saying water will be done by water authority, power will be done by power authority. They decided that instead of that, we'll have as like Bangalore Smart City Private Limited, which is more like a corporate entity, which has both central government and state government as stakeholders. This started as a very nice initiative. The problem which happened, which I feel on the ground, was at the top, maybe 3,000 feet level, it was good. The SPV was created, there was the CEO and team appointed. But the whole decision making for respective domains was left with respective team. For example, a smart city SPV today do not have 100% authority to go and change a water pipe in their city area because they have to go and talk to water department. And that is where again it went a bit haywire, where in spite of having a separate body for managing that smart city, you still need to talk to 20 departments, right? Number one. So the intention was good, it started well, but maybe it could have percolated down to the ground, and each department should have been given this mandate that for this particular area within the smart city SPV is the full authority has the absolute authority, which I didn't see on ground, believe me. Number one. Number two, when it came to running this city as a business, as you mentioned, let me share with you some very interesting thing. When we were doing the first phase of smart city consulting work, I happened to go and meet and sit in many meetings in multiple smart cities. Three or four smart cities came out with very innovative ideas, and they were really innovative. And I remember one of the smart city, I may not name it right now, but one of the smart city CEO, she mentioned that to get capital to run this smart city and make all these solutions work, we would like to look at a possibility if we can make this smart city SPV. It's a corporate entity. We can go and list on stock exchange, and people should come and invest into this. People should buy the shares of that city.
Right.
This is a very innovative thought.
Yes.
Very innovative thought.
Right.
So if we were able,
absolutely, yeah.
What happened? I never heard about after that they went to stock. Maybe they couldn't get the necessary approval. But if we are able to do it, every smart city private limited corporation becomes lists on stock exchange, release the shares, bonds. I think people might. There are a lot of investors who might come and invest into those, and that money can be used. Problem what happened with us is we had nice plans, nice thought, nice intention. We couldn't do it on the ground because everything else boils down.
You have a baggage of from 73, 72 years. I think breaking that takes time, but I think it is good that I think some spark got ignited. So yes. I think that's very good. So my next question is, usually in our corporate world, we do every year 2-3 days something like open minds, something like a strategic planning for the next probably 12 months, and again for the next 3 years horizon. So it's my view, I think each city with all the departments, maybe 33, 34 or whatever, departments plus SPV must have an yearly strategy plan and future planning. So they devise the initiatives in collaboration and interrelated, interdependent initiatives. Of course, the department-wise, they will have their own issues and all. So do you think, is it happening, or do you think if it is not happening, that's a good idea? It's like Chintan Baitak, something people say, right? I mean, it's like a thought process and strategy. So what do you think on that line? Anything happening, or is it something we need to really together?
See, it's definitely happening. How productive that is, I may not like to comment on that, but I'll give an example. One of the state governments, a very progressive state government, invited a couple of private companies, including my company, and I represented it. They brought all the IS officers of that state, close to around 130 people, who were like district, who were like directors of public enterprises or commissioners or anybody else. They brought all of them to the state capital for a 3-day. What you rightly said, they used some word called manthan or something. I don't remember that.
Right.
And they invited private companies like I was there to come and present to all these IS officers what is going to happen in next 10 years in the technology world or digital world or urbanization or smart cities, so that these IAS officers should go back to their respective department or districts and then collect all their respective people and say, next 5 years, this should be our plan or this should be our focus. I saw this in one state government. I don't know if every state government is doing this. See, government departments do a lot of meetings, no doubt. They do more meetings than private companies do, right?
They have more knowledge. In fact, I got surprised when some of the government officers speak more. And one of the chief ministers, I think, spoke like a Microsoft CEO. So some of the chief ministers also very tech
Very,
savvy. Yeah,
very few, very few. This is already there. Only
yeah.
thing is how productive they are. I'm not sure because most of the time, whatever is decided or discussed in the meeting, on ground, I've not seen much of that getting into practical, implementation. That
Right.
is where the
So that means there is a need for improving the governance. That's very important, especially for the strategic planning. And SPVs, it's not like complete authority to SPVs, but they need to be empowered to collaborate and communicate with respective departments. So, what my point of discussion is why a city cannot have a balanced scorecard. Of course, there might be creating it, but it's not like a department-wise balanced scorecard. But first, the city balance scorecard with learning and the change management growth perspective, then processes perspective, then citizens and the businesses perspective, then finally the financial and the social impact, right? And the initiatives needs to be identified, and that really becomes a great blueprint. When I said strategy, I think they should start, let us say, April. The initiatives must be start implemented for a financial year. From November to December of the previous year, they need to start these discussions, right? So anyhow, long way to go, I think, in that direction. But I think these things are probably needs to be explored, and I think the SPVs and other government officers probably needs to put some time. It may take some more time for them to get into this new one. Okay. So my next question is, when we say smart city, so what do you mean? I mean, we talk too much about of a smart city. So there are so many, of course, government also defined. So what is a smart city in our view? How the systems in smart city communicate, collaborate, which is different from physical systems to the digital systems.
See, this whole definition of smart city has become a big debate. I have seen and a lot of definitions. Technology companies used, in fact, my previous company when we launched smart city focus in Dell Technologies, we didn't call it smart city, we called it digital city because focus was more on technology rather than any other physical system. So every company or every country has its own definition. If you ask me what a smart city is, I personally feel that a smart city need not only be a technology city. It's a all encompassing aspects of the city which comes into, so your physical, your people, which means citizens, your governance and your technology need to be working in tandem to ensure livability. When I say livability
Yeah,
means rest of your living in the city, which means less pollution, less traffic problems, and less grievances. A very solid grievance management system and a very strong e-governance system. The reason why I stress on
right.
e-governance, we do talk about processes, we do talk about things, but when it comes to on-ground implementation, people still find. I'll give you an example. Uh, we know that this whole uh, RTO, driving license, and everything has become fully digitized in last couple of years with Government of India launching that Sarathi program, right? But when you
Mm,
go to an RTO office today and take a particular certificate, it depends on the local people there what they accept. They say no, we don't accept, and I actually had to argue and counter and show them that no, the central
uh,
government guideline says this is what you should do, but they had their own guidelines and they were not even aware that somebody has put it on their website that you need to accept this. So somewhere this whole
okay.
governance factor is broken. Intentions are good. I don't doubt. Earlier we used to talk about politicians and they may not have that willpower. But today there are a lot of politicians who come with that good young innovative thoughts, and I've met many of them.
Okay.
But again, the problem is the system has been there for last 80 years, 90 years, which is not that easy to change. Hopefully, it is changing, but
Right.
there's a lot to be done on that side.
Sure. So, what is your view? I probably want to give another provocative thought. Like each city must have a chief technology officer or a chief information officer, because the city has so many software applications, and they have to set up a huge data center to process the data generated from these technology devices and all. So that means a command control center, right? So,
Right.
what do you think the role of command control center? How the existing software applications needs to be digitalized? The infrastructure needs to be digitalized. So, for all these things, who is the man or woman drive this? Do you have do you think such type of a focus is? It's not just depending on system integrators or some private agencies. That is important, but there should be, I think, technically capable people to foresee, to oversee and foresee what all the different things needs to be done in a city. I think it is a big question I asked. Probably you could
No,
put it in a very simpler way.
it's it's the right thing. I should tell you, in 2008, I was sent by my company to Hong Kong for a presentation, and the guy who was supposed to be our customer, his title was COGCIO, Office of the Government Chief Information Officer in Hong Kong. And
Okay,
I was like,
cool.
oh my God, they have a CIO sitting in the government, and we are still talking about the basics. Today, when we look at any department, leave aside smart city, talk of any department, digitization is very heavy. Everything is becoming online, everything
Mm,
moving to cloud, and government has also come out with a lot of initiatives. But even today, you don't see CIOs or those kind of positions around. I think this has to change. This has to change. If we are able to have capabilities built at that level, that you have professionals driving this, like CIO, CTO kind of uh, titles in the cities or in the departments, things will be much easier. Today,
sure.
since we don't have that, what typically departments or cities do, they appoint consultants. No, that's good. You have consultants, and it's a good business for everyone. The only
Right.
problem is
I
consultant
think.
what will only
I
do
right.
within the scope. They cannot think beyond, because typically when we go and sign a contract, we look at what is in the contract, what I need to deliver, how much I am getting paid. That's it. But if we have a team sitting within
Right.
the government, a CIO and his team, I think they can think very broad, and they can bring all other department functions within that camp. But that, because so command and control center, though it's just a name given to a facility, I think this can evolve and become the overall control for everything in the city. Today, why should in a smart city, why should I call water department for a piping problem, or electricity department for a outage in
Correct.
electricity? I should call one single number,
So 50
command and
aspects.
control. You should take care of
Correct.
everything. That's exactly what
Right.
should be done.
Correct. I think, in my view, to save the public money, unfortunately, many state governments want to demonstrate their innovation, their specifics. I think there should be a federal government, the central government driven initiatives